the digital ideas are being pushed, I see a quote from the leader of the opposition saying there are arguments for and against digital ideas. I'm like, who's going to come out against these things?
It will become their poll tax. People will not accept digital ID.
People will moan about it, people will be unhappy about it, but they'll go along with it.
No, but look at what happened with vaccine passports, man. It didn't work. It did not work. Welcome to another episode of Fox and Father with me, the Fox, and him,
the Father.
It's a slightly delayed Fox and Father this week because I've got a hair sticking out my nose, but my grasp of technology. That's not why it's delayed. There was a technology and or other issues which we may or may not.
Let's not discuss the other issues.
Yes, let's not discuss the other issues. Anyway, so yeah, Calvin tries to choose me in the ways of righteousness. I resist him, and then I go and think about it for a week, and I usually come to the conclusion he's right, but not always. So, Mr. Robinson, Father Robinson, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm well. I'm tired today. We had food truck at church, which is it's this thing called Feeding West Michigan, where this great big lorry comes, or truck as they call them out here, offloads all this food from different places, and then people come to our church in their cars and open their trunk, and we fill their boot with produce and different types of food. So it's a good way of engaging with the community and acting in the corporate works of giving food to the hungry. It's something that Christians should be doing. So it's a good thing, but it means I got up early and I'm tired and I've been busy all day. But other than that, good. It's been a crazy, crazy couple of weeks. I think we've covered a lot of it already, but it's been insane. How are you?
Tell me a bit more about the food trucks. What sort of, is it people from, is it really, really, really poor people, or is it people pretty poor? What sort of
anyone can come and get food, and you can take it for just your family or for other families as well if you want. We don't ask for many details. We prepare boxes. We put all different things in, like fruit, veg, some kind of protein, and some kind of sweet treat, and we just load people up. And if they want me to pray for them while they're here, I'm always happy to do that. The company we're working with at the moment, we're not allowed to advertise that we can pray, but if people ask for a prayer, we can give it. That's one of those, how these things are, bureaucracy. But we're not going to be using this company going forward. We're going to do something else because our main job is to feed the soul rather than to feed the body. But it is good, a corporate work of mercy. And we do this, 6 months throughout the year. So it's usually the last Saturday of the month. So that's why we're doing it today. But it's nice.
Well, very good for you. Well, in response to your question, how am I? It's so chaotic. Everything, it's so chaotic. Endlessly dealing with. I tell you, someone asked me the other, and I was like, I don't know. I fight. I try and stay out of prison. I rebel rouse. I don't really know. I had the Free Speech Union made the huge error of responding to one of my tweets.
Oh yeah.
So Katie Hopkins came out of court because Katie Hopkins called herself a spaz.
Yeah. Why is that a crime?
Well, it's how she's hate crimed herself. Come on,
how is that possible?
Keep up. It's Britain. It's 2025.
Just the same. Like, who is she hating on? Who's the victim in this crime, in this non-hate crime?
Exactly. I mean, you can really dig into the madness of it and go, well, I've not heard someone call someone a spaz for a huge amount of time anyway. So she's hate criming a word that no one uses anymore whilst hate criming herself. Anyway, she comes out of court. She goes, I've been arrested. I'm like, I can't. Union will be jumping on the bandwagon to come and help you out. And the Free Speech Union stupidly responded to me and said, yes, we are actually, Laurence.
Yeah, they're very pretentious.
It went on, the reaction, and they showed themselves up to be just the most middle-class bunch of Toby Young can I jump on the bandwagon of someone
I've
else?
just
And
seen
they
that tweet. Wasn't the kind of free speech we could defend? Oh, okay, which kind of free speech are you willing to defend?
Wait, it gets better. I mean, then they go, oh God, I can't be arsed with them really, but it is quite funny for those of you that missed it, because they don't, I mean, just
free speech. I'm tweeting them right now. Free speech for me, but not for thee.
Yeah. Know what you're paying for. I've said, I responded to them, said, I've been a vocal advocate. That's right, Laurence. We provided Katie Hopkins with full legal support throughout this investigation. I went, I had been a vocal substance during inception. Instead of supporting a union member, Toadmeister decided to offer me my subs back rather than help me facing 4 years in prison for middle-class loan shark. You're not a union, you're the Bank of Lord. Which then went on and they started saying things like, we're sorry you feel let down. We considered your case carefully and concluded that encouraging people to destroy ULO's cameras, a criminal offence, they say, which we could defend. But they can defend a woman who's pled guilty.
Interesting.
Advocate for so they show themselves to be absolutely people, and typical of so I've Union, brilliant, I'll join that. And then I look back and I go, so I called Britain a mild, warm, welcoming, tolerant country after Christian time. No support from the Free Speech Union. I
Everything
joined
that Toby Young's ever done has been for the promotion of Toby Young, because he's always wanted to be a peer, and he's received his peerage. He's now Lord Toby Young, so he's happy. He's done. Job done.
Yeah.
This is what these pompous people that literally put ambition over the mission. What's the point of them?
Well, I don't see the point in them, but I do. It upset. What upset?
I'm going to expose him next year. Actually, I can't say anything more on it yet, but I'm going to expose him next year.
So, I know that most talkers in our space, and I know that most people have different strategies and different, things. Freedom, mission, and their commitment to the spiritual war. But what it really irritates me is that when people pretend that they care, and they're so keen to ally themselves with anyone who's trendy and fashionable, apostate leftists like Graham Linehan or someone like that. But when you get someone Kevin, what was Kevin saying? The teacher, the trans skeptical teacher who got fired because he refused to correctly gender somebody. Kevin Lister, the Free Speech Union is nowhere to be seen, as far as I can tell. And it's like Free Speech Union fist with a pen in it. It's like, no, it's not. It's just to pay for Toby's ermine jacket. And then the subs, which must total nearly 2,000 quid, just to offer it back like a bank. I just thought, wow,
it's quite just
shocked.
Really, to say, we're not going to help you, just take your money back. Obviously, you're not fashionable enough for him at the moment. I don't think he was very helpful for Tommy either. I think there's a certain type of person that he's not interested in helping.
Yeah, he's supercilious. Yes, I wanted to say, we commissioned early on because, I genuinely do care about free speech and legal remedies to it. They're very moderate things that could be done to the law, protect free speech more. Lord Sumption wrote forward, Francis Hall wrote it in the main, and with Anna Lautfi work. And I said to Debbie, you can have it. But, we just want, you can use it. Would you like to use it and, stick your ermine on and take it to House of Lords and say how wonderful you are? And it's like, no. I said, it can be called Toby Young's Free Speech Union report or something like that. And I was just like, what really matters? Really matters to you that people are being persecuted, or does fame, political celebrity?
I can't.
Is there anything worse than a political celebrity? Honestly, the only way you end up a political celebrity and you're okay in my book is if it weren't looking for it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, we used to form alliances with these people, but they're empty and soulless. It's pointless. This is a battle, right? We used to call it the culture war. It really is a spiritual war. It's between good and evil, and we know that good is objective. We know that good is the Christian truth of Jesus Christ, and I think people that are on his side, great. I'm happy to align with Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox, whatever. People who aren't on Christ's side, I have very little interest unless they're willing to be open-minded about it. Because people like him, they make gods of themselves, unfortunately. It's all about what they can get out of things and what they get out of people. They're not on our side. They're not on God's side. So I have very little time for them. And
Well,
I'm for those people. They're literally social climbing. They're not conservative. They're not Christian. They're liberals. And I've been in so many meetings with Toby Young and people like that. I know they're liberals. And it's tiresome. It's boring. It's dull.
It is. I get, but my sadness comes from the fact that people buy into it. That's it. It's this similar sadness than the Reform Party in lots of ways, because you get. So the Free Speech Union, you go, I'm joining a union, I've got a free speech problem. They've not done anything. They publicly say, yours is not the sort of free speech we're interested in.
I just remember
if you're not interested in my free speech, chaps, perhaps stop allowing me to become a member and stop taking money out of my bank account every month. How about that? If you're, instead of going, oh, well, we'll offer it to him back at the end of the month. I find them pathetic, and the reaction they got on social media was pretty good. They got brutalized. And
Daily Skeptic, that's it. I couldn't remember. They were writing articles about me at one point, attacking me for something. And I was like,
we both got
to write a rebuttal, why am I going to waste my time and energy giving you content for your rag when it spent all the time? Oh, Calvin Robinson is wrong about Ukraine. That was it. Yeah. There was a certain person who worked for that. I can't remember what his name was. Ian Rons, who was just obsessed with me at one point. There's all these articles in the Daily Skeptic about how I'm wrong on you. I don't care about the Ukraine, for goodness. I don't care about Ian Rons and the Daily Skeptic or Toby Young, any of it. Let's move on to something more interesting.
Yes, having said that, they're not worth time. Moving on.
I went to a gun show yesterday. That was good fun.
Wait. First of all, biodiversity is not our greatest strength. Unity is hat. You know where these are. These are almost run out again. People like these lanyards. So go on their culture stores, and I'm thinking of what else we'll do now. You went to a gun show. Love it.
Yeah. What did you? On the topic of merch, if you want to get some Calvin's Common Sense Crusade merch, they're still available on the lotusseaters.com store. There you go. Advertising
another YouTube channel. Honestly, Calvin, where's your
Hey, we've all got to make a living.
I know.
Yes, I did. I went in. It was fantastic. They let me in for free, which was lovely, because they were like, are you a priest? I was like, yeah, I'm a priest. Everywhere I'm walking around this gun, they're all like, are you actually like, yeah, like priests need guns too, right? And they had these old rifles, shotguns, pistols. I only managed to find one English gun, an old Enfield, but I was looking for like pre-World War I guns. I want to get two really nice big old English rifles to have in the studio as a backdrop. Cross them over each other. I thought that'd be nice for the 2-man studio that I'm trying to build. But yeah, it was fantastic. Just sound people. Obviously, most of them there are conservative minded because they care about their Second Amendment. But it's a cultural thing that we are lacking. I don't know what it is about the English psyche, but even conservatives are very much anti-gun. Well, many of them, not all of them.
I don't know. Are they? I mean, you've been saying this a lot, and you've said it for a long time, and I've always sort of erred on the side of a bit more, rated. I think, especially when you read William Hague going, "This is why digital ID is wonderful."
Oh, it's just
idiot from the army going, former defense secretary going, "This is why we need digital IDs. This is why we need this. This is why we need that." You're like, you guys actually. I mean, we all love to blame country, but William completely these people didn't offer a single word.
Former leader of the Conservative Party, he is the Chancellor of Oxford University, or the University of Oxford. Like, we can see why these universities are wet, right? And for him to be saying these things, publicly. Like, you're supposed to be conservative. They're all liberals. This is the problem I had. What was it when the digital ideas are being pushed? I see a quote from the leader of the opposition saying there are arguments for and against digital ideas. I'm like, who's going to come out against these things?
Well, what will happen is, I think Constantine Kissin is right. It will become their poll tax. People will not accept digital ID here.
People will moan about it. People will be unhappy about it, but they'll go along with it.
No, but look at what happened with vaccine passports, man. It didn't work. It did not work. If people are not stupid, they will know that this is not going to happen. And they will also know that the pressure on them is mounting every single day.
I saw a poll at YouGov where there was still a large number of people that were either supportive or apathetic about this, unfortunately. If the government forced it through, there's not much that can be done.
There's a large number of people that are supportive and apathetic about anything.
But we're talking about the start of a social credit system where the government can say you can't buy beef, you can't buy steak. It's your carbon footprint is over, or you can't top up your tank because you've driven too far out of your 15-minute city, or you can't go to that place because you've said something racist on Twitter. Like, this is very dangerous, this slippery slope, and it looks like it might be a backdoor to get Britain back into the EU. So none of it's good.
What one step at a time. That I agree with you on the three examples you've used, but ultimately it's not. I don't really worry about what they'll use it for on us, because Keir Starmer will be out of office in 2029, guaranteed. He'll be out of office, and we'll have Nigel Farage, God rest our souls, as Prime Minister. So she'll find a way of getting out of them. Control is control, and people love power. But I'm not worried about what they're going to do to us. I'm worried about what they're going to do to our kids. And this is why so don't want to. These number of so-called, I call them political Ponzi schemes, but just pretending to give a shit about something reassures those of us who do actually care, or that there is someone fighting a good fight for them. When they turn out to be such liars, you're just like, well, actually, who does fight? And I can count on one hand who actually bothers fighting. And so I worry. And you're that they're going to use it as a scheme. The absolute bollocks of saying that it's going to be and how,
that's the bit that really gets me. That's the dishonesty of it all. Like, this, what's an issue everyone cares about? Immigration. This is going to solve immigration. How dare they? Because you already have to prove you're a citizen to get employed. You already have to have a national insurance number. You already have to show your passport and proof of address. And it's cumbersome, but so what? Like, the evidence is already required. So this is not going to stop people hiring illegals. People who hire illegals are going to continue to hire illegals. And why should every single subject or every single citizen have to carry papers around with them in order to stop the illegals from getting jobs? Just firstly, stop the illegals from getting into the country illegally. Like, common sense, control the borders. Don't jump on the bandwagon of issues that we care about in order to force feed us the new communist policy. Despicable.
But it is despicable, but it is coming to an end. So there's no way Starmer and the justifiable hatred of Starmer, who's now become, I don't know if you noticed, but a monstrous flag shagger. You can't watch Keir Starmer. You can't watch Keir Starmer.
The Lib Dem conference, they had flags everywhere. I was like, these fascists, this far-right party, how can that be so?
And they've worked out that
people care about their country.
Well, but I also, because we have faith and we know that it all works out. We win in the end, or God wins in the end. It's so lovely to watch them put themselves between that rock and the hard place of going, we're flag shaggers now. And we're diverse. So the way they go reinvigorate or something, as opposed to denigrate. And then I heard Keir Starmer's speech at the Progressive conference, and I was sitting there going, why am the amount of mental gymnastics justify the most simply illogical positions on anything, that's over. It's finished. In 2029 at the latest, it's game over for Keir Starmer. I'm a truly hopeful believer.
Someone tweeted me this, and I haven't verified it yet. But so obviously Tony Blair was the first one to push these digital IDs. Like, it's the mark of the beast, because Tony Blair is the devil himself.
It is the mark of the beast.
But every year they've had a different reason for why we should want digital IDs, right? 2002, it was to combat terrorism. 03 was to stop benefit fraud. 04, it was to prevent illegal workers. And then enable a more secure society, make access to public services simpler, blah, 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 more health benefits, fuel economic growth, vaccine passports in 2021. So every year they're trying to say, this is going to improve our lives. Like, if they have to coerce us that much, are these things really a good idea? That's the problem, right? If it was a good idea, we'd be opting into it. We'd be like, yeah, let's all have these. And so firstly, it's not a good idea. And secondly, it's the hypocrisy of it all. The fact that the Labour Party are the ones who say we should not be forced to show ID to vote. Like, one time when you do want people to show ID to prove that you're a citizen, so we don't have to show ID to vote, but we do have to carry ID for everything else.
It doesn't work, does it? It's too much of a cognitive dissonance, even for Labour, which is why you see Owen Jones going no. You know, and I'm like, I agree with Owen Jones. When I agree with Owen Jones, you know things are in trouble. This is what Nayib Bukele, president of, where is he president of?
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he have that mark or name of the beast of his name. So he knows straight away that we're into Revelation at this point. Living through, do you think we're, Revelation is a complicated, so many levels, and I've read it and I don't really, I feel like I'm reading James Joyce on a few levels. But do you think do you think digital ideas, it is, isn't it? I mean, it's not being overly hyperbolic to say that.
I don't know. It was interesting that Peter Thiel hosted a whole load of lectures on the Antichrist, and it seems to be, at least it's been reported, that he said Thiel speculates that regulating technology will empower a peace and safety regime, seizing control of nations worldwide and establishing a one world authoritarian government. Sorry, what? Peter Thiel says that fearing or regulating AI or opposing its progress would hasten the coming of the Antichrist. Now, I'm not against Peter Thiel, but that sounds like something an Antichrist would say. And you could speculate that AI itself could become the Antichrist with the way that that's being built, and people.
They did speculate that. That's what Terminator was about. That's what Space Odyssey was about. That's what all.
It's interesting times. I've got mutual friends. Someone said they're going to give me a call and talk me through what Peter Thiel actually said, rather than what is being reported that he said. But still, I find it fascinating that is he a secularist or an atheist, or does he call himself a Christian? I think he's openly homosexual, right?
Yeah, Colin Calv, you can be a gay guy. Yeah,
right. You can't be openly homosexual and Christian. The two are counterintuitive. But the fact that he's hosting these conversations on the Antichrist as a non-theologian, I find it fascinating at the very least. But
it's great. I think it's great that people are. I think it's wonderful that people are framing the conversation in the terms of spiritual war between good and evil and God and the devil. I mean, it's the only way I can frame it. So I'm pretty pleased. I don't see this I don't see what's going on in the world as a series of sort of bad kind of bureaucratic mistakes. I see it as everything that mankind was built to live for. Yeah. That's what I see. That's the way it is. Mm. So I like that Peter Thiel is talking about it. I've listened to Peter Thiel a lot, talk about a lot of things, and I really, really respect him. But like everybody, he's wrong on certain things.
Yeah, he's wrong on Israel, but he was right on universities, the fact that most people shouldn't go to university.
But that's so wonderful, isn't it? It's so great that someone so brilliant and so beautifully minded and so clever one thing and so wrong on something else. And actually, one of the things I noticed about our side, well, it's not our side, but the side of good is that we're tempered, but our arrogance is the thing that destroys us in the end. And our hubris destroys us. You know, the minute Jordan Peterson switches over from being a anti-woke, anti-cancel culture, pro-free speech guy to a theologian, his career stalls, and he has suffers a lot internally. But then you see the other side of it, where the minute Megyn Kelly decides to stop being a kind of Fox News blonde bombshell and actually goes out and uses, is very much herself. She's a complete, overwhelming and flying success. So it is wonderful.
I think that's more about vocations. That's more about discerning where God is calling you. I think God used Jordan Peterson to lead people out of secularism and more towards finding goodness, finding order. And that's on a pathway towards Christianity, even though he didn't directly lead people to it. And likewise, Megyn Kelly has moved away from secular commentating to actually engaging in this battleground. It was good to see her out on the not the campaign, but on the university, on the college campuses recently. By the way, did you see Tennessee State University? Did you see that thing?
The 90,000?
No, the two white kids getting run out of town by a big black mob.
No.
They turned up these two chaps turned up on Tennessee University campus and did a little debate table. But the students at Tennessee State University could not debate. I think one tried to engage, but the rest of them, they pretty much grabbed their pitchforks and chased them out of town. It was a spectacular scene. Just showing
I'm so pleased I didn't go to university. Sometimes I think, obviously one needs to increase one's knowledge, and I read and I do things to increase my knowledge. But I'm so pleased I didn't get taught to think on that higher plane.
Yeah, university is a waste of time for most, but some of them can be good. But the TSU is one of these what they call them historic something or other HSBUs, something to do with the black college essentially. But I looked into it, right? 70 to 93% acceptance rate. So everyone gets in. Anyone can get in. Graduation rate, 22%. So everyone gets in, but no one gets a degree. And then I looked a bit further. So, okay, so the president of this university is on $425,000. The football coach is on $469,000. The provost is on $300,000. Like these people, the faculty are raking it. It's a scam. They're raking it in. So I looked at where does the money come from? Local taxes and state federal taxes, state and federal taxes. So American taxpayers are paying money for these fat cats to say, oh, we're helping minorities. Look, we're getting them all into university. They're letting them all in, all these thickos that aren't going to get degrees anyway, kicking them out with no degrees. And who benefits from it? Well, the fat cats. It's disgusting.
Well, it's more insidious than that. So here's my Fox and Father Follows is Heather McDonald, who wrote the book. I'll just give you a correct thing. Who wrote the book, The Diversity Delusion. I can't find it.
Oh, yeah.
And she wrote, so the insidious of all of this critical race theory rubbish is so bad because so they decided, obviously, as Americans do, once, in this sort of post-capitalist, shrunken, weakling, tiny dicked utopia that they've tried to create for us, that, we've now got to give the black people something back because, we enslaved them and we were terrible to them for such a long time. So they go, well, let's let them into all the universities, regardless of their intellect.
Which is just stupid.
Now, so I'm saying, so any normal person would stop at that juncture. We do not discriminate against people in universities.
Right. We're setting them up to fail if you're letting people in. They shouldn't be there.
But wait, it gets worse. It gets worse. So they say, no, we're going to have more black people. That's what we got to do. And so they take on their, say their law department. They overrepresent black students in their law department who don't get the right, I don't know what it's called, GPA or whatever it is that gets you into an American university. Oh, at the bar for them. At the same time, Asian students who come from it's, very different work ethos, are doing really well. And they're just thrown in with the whites and they go, no, you can't come in. We're going to give it all to the black kids. So the black kids come to university. They turn up at university. They can't deal. The ones that aren't, there are as many intelligent black people as there are white people. Let's just make that assumption.
I don't know that's true.
Well, I do. I think
that's not a fact.
Well,
the problem is we don't know the difference between nature and nurture in terms of intellect or IQ.
No. Okay. But I'm discounting the eugenicist argument for the time being, and just for the sake of this argument, for the sake of this thing, and then what they do is they turn around and these kids that they've let in, or young men and women that they've let onto legal courses, they can't succeed on these courses because they don't have the level of intellect required to be a lawyer. They may have, a physical or practical intelligence, or whatever it doesn't. Yeah. But hang on, so what happens then is that a disproportionate number of black students start dropping out. And then what they do is they say, well, then the system is discriminatory towards black people. So they create the problem which they then just critical race theory. The whole legal profession is inherently racist, and we've got to dismantle whatever the word is that they use in BLM. But the turn black people and other so-called marginalized groups into victims, so they can never recover. So you give them a disease with no cure other than revenge, and then you turn around and you actually miss the real. And in the American penal system, for example, whereby if a white, sorry, I'm got to just finish the rant and then you talk, whereby as a white guy with cocaine, you will get an ex-prison sentence. You get a much, much stiffer prison sentence. So that is racial discrimination, and it is based on, it's not racial discrimination, but it's discrimination against poorer people. So there are elements of society that we could improve, but they decide to take the one element of society that we desperately need, which is the furthering of human understanding, critical race theory, sorry.
No, you're right. There are more problems. I think part of it is intellect, that we shouldn't lower the bar of entry because people who cannot cope in those environments will be promoted into those environments where they shouldn't be there in the first place. But part of it's also cultural. Like if you watch the video of this mob mentality kind of bullying people out of their campus just because they disagree with them, it's rowdy, it's barbaric, it's kind of, they look rabid. It looked more like a video from a zoo than it did a university. Like, they're not intellectuals, as in not that they're not smart, they're not academics, as in they're not there to engage in conversation, in dialogue, they're not there to learn. And that's the problem. So there's a cultural aspect to it too that also needs to be worked out. And
why do we hate ourselves so much? Why at this pinnacle of human experience, endeavor, and understanding, when they were sending rockets to the moon, sorry, Lani, they were sending rockets to the moon in the 60s, and Elon Musk is going, let's go to Mars, let's do this. Why are we always going, no, we don't want to do that. No, it's just the AME and marginalised race.
But it increases racism, because this is one of the points that people are pointing out that Charlie Kirk said, and they're trying to paint him as a racist for saying it. But when he was saying that, if I have a black pilot, I'm going to question whether he should be there. And of course, you are going to question if they're lowering their entry criteria to get more black pilots rather than more good pilots. There may be good black pilots and maybe good white pilots. But if you're changing the entry criteria because you want a particular race, that's going to make you question whether the person deserves to be there, because they're not there on merit or not merit alone. And that's
it's not even questioning, it's guaranteed. So if you're going to take from, say in America, or say I watched a film the other day, I thought I'll watch a modern film. right?
Why?
So I turn on because I just want to give it a go. And I go, I'll watch one film. So I watched this thing called The Good Nurse with Eddie Redmayne and Jessica Chastain.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Redmayne, for those of you who don't know, is very popular as a sort of non-binary. I mean, he doesn't announce himself as non-binary. And Jessica Chastain kind of looks like a man.
I thought Eddie Redmayne was just this generation's Hugh Grant, like the just typical.
Yeah, but it's so unbelievably dreadful, this film. Plot as well. Like the plot is absolutely good, but you can, between the man and the woman, they read like people actually watched men and women relating. And then you look at the list of writers, directors, all of that sort of stuff, and it's just all women. And you go, well, that perspective actually particularly, you know, I want the male perspective on these things is, you know, there is a time for a female perspective. Closing Doors is good, you know, and I don't mind a female lead either. I love female leads, but women can understand makeup of men. It's just insane to me. It's like, I would never pretend to understand a woman or what motivates her.
I'm tired of the whole girl boss thing. They're trying to force down our throats to pretend that femininity is the same as masculinity, and that actually these women can be the same kind of heroes as men, whereas heroism is very different. It's supposed to be maternal rather than paternal. It's a very different vibe, and it breaks down the cognitive dissonance. You can't enjoy the film when you're watching a woman playing the part of a man. It's silly.
And it's but it's also dangerous. So if you do make a film where a girl is beating up a big guy, which happens in most films, modern films that you watch, you're saying to a young woman, you know, if a man attacks you, or I mean, you should fight back in that situation. But you know, you're saying that you've got an equal chance against a guy who would beat the living hell out of you in a moment. It's like, it's totally dangerous.
Suspension of disbelief. It also gives women the idea that they could probably beat up these 5 blokes as the woman.
Yeah. So I don't see a single useful of progressivism on earth at all, other than my example of crack cocaine and cocaine in this current conversation, which is, I think, abhorrent and totally wrong. And I do think that all of this effort that people spend on progressivism would be much better looking back, and actually, instead of looking forward, to look back about history, to look back on the great society that was built in America, where slave families went from being 75% married to 75% divorced, and look at the reaches and the outcomes of what that has done, rather than sit and go, right, what's our next stupid experiment to which we have no discernible understanding of what might happen. I just think it's mad. So, Calvino, is Trumpy has accused Sadiq Khan, saying that London is headed for Sharia law. What do we? Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I mean, we already know there are over 80 Sharia courts in the United Kingdom, more than the rest of Europe combined. We know that most or a lot of Islamist extremism comes out of the United Kingdom. We know that London is increasingly Mohammedan, and actually it's one of the first places in the country that is no longer predominantly white, British or Christian. So yeah, of course, I think, what's his name? Sadiq Khan, yeah, I think he's a bad guy pushing a bad ideology. One of the last messages Charlie Kirk sent to me was that Lucifer is running London, and I absolutely agree with that. The Tylenol thing has been fascinating. The fact that he said pregnant women shouldn't be taking Tylenol. It may potentially lead to ADHD or autism. And these liberal women have been downing Tylenol. Pregnant women downing. It's already been the case that Tylenol, or paracetamol, as we call it in the UK, hasn't been advised or recommended for pregnant women, as most drugs aren't. Yet people hate him so much that they're willing to risk the life of their own baby by taking drugs when they're pregnant when they don't need them. It's insanity. Really is crazy to see.
They kill their own babies to try and
They
upset
do.
Trump.
You're right. They kill their
It's
babies.
mad. Lois McClatchy, by the way, who's another
Love
Fox reporter.
Lois.
So I've sent this into the group and featured. This is a short clip. I think this is either Didi Hussein or Mohammed Hijab. I can never work out which one is which.
Like, why are you going to those areas outside of Epping Forest and this and that? Why are you picking on some people in a hotel and this? What are you doing? Attacking them? Get like an organized protest. Go to if you hate immigrants, go to the immigrant areas and show the placards there. Go to Allen Rock, go to Birmingham. Let's see what you're going to do there. Go to Tower Hamlets. I've never seen them in Tower Hamlets. I've never seen them in Harrow Road. I've never seen them in Kilburn. I've never seen them in South London. I've never seen a single flag here in South London. If I'm trying to convert people, if I'm trying to convince people that are not white immigrants to get out and stuff, well, go to the immigrant areas. How comes you're not in the immigrant areas? Come to the immigrant areas. Why don't you, the far right, come to the immigrant areas? Because you know what's going to happen. Wallah, you know what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you'll get physical. I'm telling you, you go to the immigrant area, get battered. Yes, you will. You will get battered.
Sounds like a threat. Firstly, he needs deporting. Secondly, anyone who uses the word wallah unironically needs deporting. There should not be Muslim enclaves in the United Kingdom about come to these immigrant areas. There should not be immigrant areas in the country. All these places he just listed, we should go down there with an ICE team and deport a lot of them. The cheek about getting battered for being far right, which is not far right, it's just British. Disgusting.
It's interesting.
It's not just there. We're seeing the same thing over here. Dearborn in Michigan is a big problem when the mayor's pretty much saying to a Christian, you know, leave town and I'll host a celebration that you're out because this is not your area. It's like, what? Wait, huh? Who are you?
But is it any different from what we did to Concord before? I mean, I'm asking this not in a provocative way. I'm asking a genuine question.
So what? Sorry.
So the settlers went to America. They conquered and overtook the tribes. They traded with them for a while, then they took over, and they used them and as far as they were useful, and then they took over. And now you have Indian reservations, and if you look at the stats, certainly in somewhere like Anchorage, in the northwesternmost part of the United States, which basically is about as close to Russia as you can get. In Anchorage, Native Americans, or First Nation people, or whatever you want to call it, they are represented in the homelessness, prostitution, violent deaths. So you do think that this has been done before, and maybe it was done by us, but we're not looking to restitute that by taking more revenge on people. We're looking, if restitution is what's required, then it's not about downbeating, isn't it? Is it? Is there an argument to say that we did do that? Our Western culture did do that. It took itself out to the world and it conquered them.
I think Europeans settled in America and built a great nation, like one of the greatest nations in human history. That's a good thing. What the Mohammedans are doing when they come over to America or Britain, they're not building anything. They're destroying, they're tearing down. This is what they do. In terms of the American Indians, I think Americans have been far too generous. I think these reservations are a terrible idea. I think giving them casinos is a terrible idea. Most of these tribes were, barbaric and uncivilized just 200 years ago. Integrating into good Christian culture is a good thing they can choose to do, but I don't think there's.
Hang on a minute.
Sorry,
200 years ago, the age of consent for a woman was.
Sorry, it's breaking up.
200 years ago, the age of consent was 12 in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, that's
so terrible. We were barbaric too.
No, we weren't barbaric. We were civilized with some errors. There's a massive difference. We didn't go around eating other people, or from other tribes that we've conquered. Barbaric means something. It doesn't mean just we have bad laws. These tribes were generally uncivilized.
Is the Solzhenitsyn line, the line between good and evil, runs right down the middle of every human heart? Is that?
Sure, but not every culture. Like some cultures are better than others, right?
Yeah, I agree that some cultures are better. I am sick to death of being told to regret. Sort of demonic desires of other cultures, which I don't agree with. And certainly, if you want to live please go and live like that.
Yeah, we don't know. If you want Sharia law, there are 55 countries around the world where they have Sharia. Go and live in one of those countries. You don't want to because they're horrible places to live, because Sharia is horrible. It's not a pleasant experience, which is why it's really strange that you'd want to bring it here.
Well, I can see why they want to bring it here, because it's better for them. It's like, it's suddenly excusable to, for the way that either Dili or Mohammed Hijab, I can never work out which one of these vile extremists it is, presents it. He's always talking about immigrants. So what he's doing is he's using socialism to push Islamo. I mean, I'm bored of using the word fascist, but it's Islamo-communism or Islamo-globalism, whatever it is. But he keeps saying immigrant, but then he goes, Wahala. And it's like, yeah, I heard you, mate. I heard what you said. You're not talking. That's who you're talking to. And he's got a huge... There's nothing worse than someone who turns up in a country, doesn't feel very at home there because their parents think it's okay to marry your first cousin and have a bunch of retarded children, and then turn around and go, yeah, also, we don't like you. You're a marginalized, oppressed minority. It's like, yeah, you're going to be oppressed as a minority for behaving like that. Yes, you are, actually. Sorry, chum. Do you know what I mean?
I just think they're making it known that they're a conquering force, and therefore we need to fight back. We need to push back. We need mass deportation, mass repatriation. But we already know this. It's just about having the political will to get it done, isn't it?
Okay, what do you think about the sort of mass, the sort of coordinated, other than Giorgia Meloni, God bless your soul, the mass acceptance of Palestine as
a state?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
It definitely seems coordinated. The fact that Australia, Canada, Great Britain, and there was another country that did it like all within days of each other.
New Zealand.
Was it New Zealand? Yeah, that's very strange timing. I mean, it's clearly not a state anymore since Britain gave Palestine over to who are now the Israelis, and it was all part of Israel until Israel gave Gaza over to Palestine, and then Hamas took over. It's a great big mess, but it's clearly not a separate state. To recognize it as a state seems disingenuous. Obviously that whole area needs fixing. My suggestion would be reclaim it for Christ. It's the Holy Land, right? So take it back. The Brits should never have given that land over. It's a great shame that they did. Clearly the people living there on both sides cannot live together in peace. And so we're giving them a good shot. It's been in war pretty much since 1948. There have been like a few months of long combat, but generally speaking, it's been a hostile territory the whole time. So they deserve to self-govern.
Well, also, if they are going to self-govern, they're self-governing. The last people they elected, which was 2006, I think, I can't remember, and please, correct me for not being right in history, was Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. And if you say F-U-C-K Hamas in the United Kingdom now, you get visited at 9:32 by the police.
Well, it's got the other way in America, in that you can't say F Israel. Or you can't, if you burn an Israeli flag, you can get arrested for a hate crime. So it goes both ways.
I agree. I agree with all of that, which is don't use other nations' politics on your own soil.
Absolutely.
I said, my flag got blown down, and we had a storm. And my flag got blown down, mainly not because of any other reason other than I didn't do it properly. And it got blown down. After Charlie, what happened to Charlie? And she went, why? And I went, just to honor him and and to fly at half mast. And I think the question was a good one, which was like, why? On a very, very special occasions, I think you could fly someone else's flag. I do think that, if Trump comes to visit.
Right.
But this obsession that the leftists have had for years of flying any flag but our own, and then suddenly it's that. So now they're all flag shagging, and then telling it. I feel like I'm in a constant cycle. I feel like I'm in a sort of crisis center for like.
Yeah, we obviously had the whole thing with the Ukraine where people just took on board Ukrainian identity all across the West for some reason. Because they saw it as this is the bastion of democracy. Well, clearly it's not. It's
I've been the neck on a train, then we don't care about Ukraine.
State in the world. Well, that's true. Most corrupt state in Europe. But then it's the same with the Ukraine. People are like, it's the only democratic state in the Middle East. Like, I don't care about democracy. I don't make an idol of democracy. Why would I care about democracy? And secondly, it's the Middle East. Like, they all hate each other. They've all been at war with each other forever. Why do people take on board, whether it's Palestine or Israel, why do people take on board these foreign affairs unless they have some vested interest? It's really, really strange that people have been indoctrinated and propagandized to the point that on both sides of that spectrum, people are very fanatic and they're implementing policies in our countries about something that happens thousands of miles away.
Yeah, I think probably one of the rules of thumb might be keep other countries' politics out of our mainstream politics. So our mainstream politics should be, and I think virtue signaling has kind of replaced economics. So we don't really hear a lot of economic discussion. So if you listen to a lot of economists, you read Liam Halligan or you listen to Rob, anybody who understands economics, which I don't, so forgive me for not, they're saying we're screwed. Like, we're totally screwed. The per capita, the £1,000 in debt for these disastrous policies. So, that's coming home to roost, whether you like it or not. And I wonder whether, like, wokeism and virtue signaling has replaced economics as the sort of third arm of how we deal with the modern world. I mean, it's beyond. I always say to you, I'm very encouraged by things, but this week I have gone, it's very this level of cognitive pod, because Keir Starmer stands up and says, we're bringing digital IDs. That's not in his manifesto. So it wasn't elected on that. No one said, please do that. Sadiq Khan tweets about racism like it's going out of fashion. So no one's allowed to reply to Sadiq Khan. So other Londoners, other voters could see how much he is loathed and despised by
That's a good
Londoners.
point, by the way. So people have been pointing out that actually if you have the little grey tick on Twitter, if you're on X, if you're marked as a politician, you shouldn't be able to disable replies. And I think that's quite right. Yeah.
And then it seems to, I get this sort of glimmer of hope, and then it escalates. So then Keir Starmer starts flag shagging. And you're like, what? I thought it was a divisive symbol of the far. What's going on with you, chap? So my only real hope is that the whole thing crumbles very fast, because I mean, it never does, unfortunately. But I was reading Queen Bob, another great one. Queen Bob, the fourth. She's the best, Nats. And she on post this morning, which we'll put a link in the bio in the program notes, to say about Ceausescu, how quickly that shit fell apart. And part of me is just like, it's the only way, really. I mean, I don't know how else it could happen.
Well, it is falling apart. We already know that if we don't change something very, very quickly, We're already on the momentum that's being built up. We're already killing ourselves off with abortion, with lack of births, and with mass migration, both legal and illegal. Like, the country will not be the country in a very short period of time unless something changes. So,
you know what changes it?
What?
A leader.
Yeah.
It's a leader that changes it.
Yeah,
it's amazing what one man or woman can do. And that's my forever hope and my forever prayer, is to say that whoever it is who's out there, who is growing in stature day by day, and humility and service to Christ and all that sort of stuff, who's going to come and only takes one person, to change. Trump is, and as we've had the conversation before, God writes with a crooked pen. I'm so hopeful for that. Really,
yeah. We need a strong hand. We need someone who's going to be a hammer, and like a bang hammer.
Why a hammer?
Because we've got to get rid of all these toxic ideologies, all this evil that we've allowed to fester. We've tolerated it for so long. We've got to stamp it all out. And the left have been calling us fascists for so long. It's time we enacted a little bit of fascism, actually, and got rid of all this nasty stuff, because they're going to kill us for it anyway. So we might as well stop them. We might as well prevent it and promote goodness, promote truth, promote all the good things that we know that our societies were built upon, because we just sat around saying, oh, their ideas are our ideas too, and all ideas are equal, and let's let them have a go. No, they've had a go. They've ended up killing us for it. Let's stop it.
I agree. I just don't know how it happens. I mean, I was just looking at I tweeted Elon Musk after Mayor Sadiq Khan said, "I'm so concerned about all the racism." I loathe that man. God, I can't bear it. And I was just looking at the engagement, and with no replies, it's 3.2 thousand likes. My response to him is 30,000 likes. And I'm not into likes, I don't live in the world of likes, but it's completely bonkers. I just don't know how extreme to go in the other direction. I'm facing so much hardship. I deliberately am not moderate, because you deal with this with moderation. And you deal with it with understanding, but you deal with it with truth. And the truth is often very, very immoderate, Sure. And so anyone who tries to convince me,
trying to convince, like, our job is not to convince, our job is to inform. And that's a big difference. We need to learn that distinction and enact it.
Yeah, that's true. Our job is not to, what is it? Say it again.
Not to convince, but to inform.
Yes, that's so good. Our job is not to convince, it is to inform. Yeah, I love it. The thing about you little big old brain, and sat there thinking about things carefully with your little white collar on, as opposed to me, is you act very emotive, and you're very like, yeah, our job is not to convince, it's to inform. Yeah. But this is why I'm so bad at what I do, because an actor's job is to convince. That, and it's terrible for me. So I sort of slip between the gaps. Yeah, by going, no, guys, do you see how terrible this is? Yeah. And lots of people do, hence why I have a large platform, and you have a large platform. But it's
yeah, but we use it differently. When you started out, you used to do the thing that Charlie did. You used to say, I'll debate anyone. I disagree with you strongly, come, let's have a debate. And I used to admire you for that. I thought that was great. But actually, I think we're past that. I really think we're past the point of debating. I think we're at the point where now we just have to say, no, that's evil. You can't do that. No. We just have to treat them like the children that they are.
Yeah. They're errant children. And but one of the ways of dealing with an errant child, and I have long experience of this being a father, is about, the old expression, pick your battles, but also to know when to engage and when not to engage. I think what's happened with Charlie has really every piece of gaslighting since COVID has of the 20% of the population that are of their mindset will always lean towards, you're not the solution to my problem. I am the solution to my problem, and my relationship with God is. Which, if the Muslims, the hardcore Muslims, I mean, if they didn't spend their time sitting out on the street praying and telling us that we can't go into parts of our country, I think my tolerance levels for them would be much higher. But when people go, because I'm obviously more Semitic than that. I don't mind the fact that there's a bunch of weirdos with ringlets walking around Stamford Hill. And strange hats. It doesn't bother me because they're not walking around going, "Wear the weird hat, get some ringlets. If you don't, it's over." So I don't really mind that. But Christians have to be more muscular in the way that they take things on, and certainly Islam and all that sort of stuff. Your job is not to convince, it's to inform. Yeah, that's what you're 100% right, as per. Right, you won. You win. Fuck. Calvin Robinson. Don't nod like that. I have to look at the computer screen because my glasses are not working well, and that is quite dim, that screen over there. So I keep looking at the computer screen.
I can see you in the screen there.
Were you doing an impression of an old black lady?
No, an old white man called Laurence Fox.
I can see you in the screen there. Okay, right. Final topic of conversation. Are we allowed to do impressions of people from other countries?
Yeah, of course. Why would we not be allowed?
But wouldn't that be bad for the wokies? Wouldn't it upset them? Okay, what's your bet? I'll do my best impression and you do your best impression. What are you going to offer us?
Every impression I try to do ends up Indian.
Okay. To do of an African warlord.
I can do Jamaican.
You will give me the money or you will die. I will take it. I want the money. Also, do Jamaican, but also I watched the Ricky Gervais Office yesterday because, he was so miles ahead of the world to be woke. And he was showing you how dreadful woke is back in the day. The BBC paid for it. It was brilliant. He was like, that's a bit racist. The other one. It was brilliant. It was absolute genius. Lizzie and I were watching it last night. And as you funny, I wouldn't describe her laugh as ladylike. I would describe it as...
Let's not comment on her laugh. But Ricky Gervais was ahead of his time, always ahead of his time. He's one of the good lefties. It's a shame he's a massive lefty and an atheist, but he is funny. I'll give him that.
I think he's just trendy for that. Right. Do we have anything else to offer other than your Jamaican accent, Ed, before we have a prayer?
No, just...
Oh, come on, give us your Jamaican, Calv.
What do you want to say?
I want you to basically deliver a homily about how wonderful I am in a Jamaican accent. Go for it. Oh, he's struggling with the accent or the homily. That's what I want to know.
Struggling with the words. The Laurence Fox guy. I'm a good actor, You're not bad. You can do it on the screen, on the telly, on the stage. Yeah, man. There you go.
Very good. All right, prayers out.
Prayers.
Oh, wait,
yes.
hang on. Thank you for watching, everyone. And we value you, love you, and appreciate you. And do head over to the Culture Stores and Calvin's store at Load Seaters to buy the various bits that are good.
On the topic of prayers, we've had loads of prayers here recently. We had in Lansing, the state capital of Michigan, we had a memorial there for Charlie. And then we had one at Grand Valley State University, which is a local college here, because I wanted to have like a rosary rally downtown in Grand Rapids City, but you need to get permits and stuff. Even in a free country, you have to have permits to turn up and pray. And so I asked the local uni, and the Turning Point USA chapter there said, come and host it here. So we did. We had this prayer vigil outside by a clock tower at 7 p.m. And I kid you not, the moment, and there were loads of people there, it was great, but the moment the bell struck 7, like the heavens opened. I've never been more wet in my life, drenched in my robes. We ended up, they gave us a chapel to use in the end, which was wonderful. We sung some hymns, read some psalms, did some prayers together. A friend of mine, Father JD Coach, came up and helped me lead the session. It was absolutely marvelous. It was a great memorial. So we've had quite a few different memorials over the last few days since the last podcast. And I think people have been praying all over. But the one thing that stood out between the last podcast and this one is that memorial. Did you watch it, by the way? The memorial, 5.5 hours of just Christianity, pure Christianity. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Even like the conclave, the papal conclave, or the crowning of His Majesty the King. Like, these were Christian services and probably more sacramental. But the Charlie Kirk's memorial was like politicians, right? It was secularists. It was ordinary people getting on the stage, and pretty much all of them proclaimed the gospel in the best way they could. And that, obviously everyone's talking about Erica Kirk's speech because she forgave the killer, which was, I was sat there thinking, whoa, she's gonna, no, she's not. She is. And I was like, wow, that's powerful. But for me, the speeches that stood out were, well, first and foremost, Tucker Carlson, for just being bold enough to say this is 2,000 years old, this story. But secondly, Marco Rubio, right? Again, he and I don't agree on everything. He's a massive Zionist, but he stood there, and the last 70 seconds of his speech, like his whole demeanor changed. I felt like you could see the presence of the Holy Spirit in him as he just talked about Jesus's passion, death, and resurrection for us. It was marvelous. I was blown away by it.
Good.
Did you enjoy it?
I think I've said this to Larry. I'm still so at it that Lizzie's watching a lot of footage and a lot of, like, she's really doing, and I hearing his voice makes me angry. So what I did is I've written a song about him.
Oh,
that's what I've done.
Where can I hear it?
I've written it, and I can play it on the guitar, so I would need to record it, and I might do, actually, because Monday, Tuesday here is our weekend, Lizzie and my weekend, because we've got the kids all the rest of the time. So I will record it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it says. This is what I wrote, because I actually think that this is true.
While you look that up, the one thing for me, obviously, we go through periods of sadness and anger, but I found that memorial turned a lot of that sadness and anger into joy, actually, because when Charlie got shot, I don't know if I've said this on the show, but when Charlie got shot, I fully expected a miracle. And I thought that miracle would be that he'd be healed, and we'd all be like, oh yeah, just like in Butler, Pennsylvania, God's working this way. But God took him home in the end to glory. But I think the miracle that we've observed is a revival. There's a revival happening in this country. Yeah. It's amazing to see it. And that's how God works good from bad.
Well, it's also the power of forgiveness. So this is what I've written. There will be another moment in time. All glory seems lost from the single curse. Old evils reawake. The glint in the night so far off. These crucial moments in time where devastation defines, we choose to live not by lie. And those were now gone at the hands of a fool paying the devil's dues. There's so much more I could say. There are some dues to be paid. Your life was beautifully made. You came unarmed and was betrayed. Do we die or turn and show our other cheek? There's just one truth that can never be slain. To the devil's dismay and with glory and grace, those murderous debts must be repaid.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good. I'm so angry about it that I think turn it into something
Yeah.
If you can.
And that anger has to be used. And people pointing out, Trump's speech was just after Erica, who forgave him, and he was like, I won't. No, that's right. The widow should forgive. That's good. But the magistrate should not forgive. The magistrate should enact justice, and justice does need to be served. And we need to find out who the killer or killers really were, and they need to be brought to the full justice of the law, in which, really they should be hanged. I also wrote a memorial on calvinrobinson.com. People can read. It's probably the most vulnerable I've ever been, but I was really open.
Can you send that to me? Why haven't I seen that?
I don't know, because you don't read the things I share in group chats. But
I don't read group chats.
No, I don't blame you. I left most of the group chats, but one that we are still in, I put it in there. But I'll send it to you.
Is it in the Mark Stein online one?
Yeah, I'll just send it to you privately. But it was tough. It took me 2 weeks to be able to get the words to write it down. But there it is. If people want to read your what's it called, sermon at our wedding is the first thing I read every single morning. Oh, I love that.
Out of choice.
That's sweet.
Lizzie has put it directly in front of my face in the loo.
Wow, that's funny.
So what I do is I start at the top, and then I start reading it. I get about a paragraph in by the time I've finished, exercising my...
You can tell how dehydrated you are by how far along you get.
Exercising my sort of messed up prostate. But then I remind myself to now read the second bit next time I go. And I've read your sermon, and might have to, I know that you gave it to us and it was all framed and stuff, but you could have gone for a slightly nicer font. I don't want to criticize, but it's a very clear font, but it gives
you can
a bit of
reprint it in the frame if you like.
Yeah. Would you be upset if I did turn it into?
I wouldn't be upset. No, you can print it out again in a nicer font.
But it's such an amazingly beautiful, every single word of that is just so wonderful, Cal. So I really look forward to reading your...
I asked the Holy Spirit to inspire me what to say for your wedding, so give all credit to God for that.
You did.
Let's pray. O God, who did strengthen Blessed Vincent de Paul with apostolic power for preaching the gospel to the poor and for promoting worthiness in the clergy, grant, we beseech thee, that we who reverence his pious deeds may also be taught by the example of his virtues. Through Jesus Christ, thy Son, our Lord, who liveth and reigneth with thee in the unity of the Holy Spirit, ever one God, world without end. Amen.
Amen.
God bless you all. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
See you next time.